This is the DLR Cast, the essential podcast for fans of Diamond David Lee Roth. Hello and welcome to the DLR Cast, the only podcast by and for fans of the Diamond one, the now back on the road one, David Lee Roth. As always, I'm your host, Steve, wishing I was sometime related to David Lee Roth, along with my good friend and co-host and partner in all things Dave, the guy who has been on the road seeing Dave himself, Darren Paltrowitz. Darren, what's happening, man? We've got a lot to talk about here, and I'm really excited to talk to you about it all.
A roller coaster of emotions. Some people I'm going to be apologizing to during this episode as a result of those, but it's good to be home, albeit for a couple days, but good to be here. And you?
I am great, man. I am jamming. So let's get rolling right away. Let's recap at least where you've been. You've seen two Dave shows in 4 days, Atlantic City and Long Island.
Yes.
As we're recording this on a Monday night, and he was just in Atlantic City last night, correct? Or Saturday
Atlantic
night?
City was 3 nights ago.
3 nights ago,
The
sorry.
Friday night.
Friday
the
night.
Long Island show was last night, the Sunday.
That's right.
And if you want to be technical, I mean, it all kind of kicked off in May with the M3 show.
Sure. And you
in
saw that.
Maryland. Yeah. So this is 3 Dave shows, and there's since been a couple in Florida, I think Virginia, they've been all over the place. It's not like there's been 10 shows, but there's been a few, and videos of all of them have emerged online.
Yep, and I would definitely want to talk about what we're seeing, but more importantly, what you've been seeing, because the last episode, we spoke about what we had seen prior to you going to these dates, what we saw online. And I think we were both kind of, I don't know, a little back and forth, a little I don't want to say wishy-washy, but I was kind of going back and forth myself on what I was seeing, let's put it this way. There was things I was concentrating on some of the shows I saw before really digging into some of the other shows in depth between then and now. But more importantly, you were up close and personal. So let's talk about, what you saw, your assessments, and, we'll go on from there.
A couple episodes ago, I predicted that it was going to start really strong with M3, and he was going to be into it the first show or two, and then it was going to dip a bit, and then he was going to be excellent on Long Island, and then maybe a dip again. I'd like to say I am correct about this one. The Atlantic City show was terrible.
Okay.
And a lot of it was because that venue, it's inside the Hard Rock Casino that used to be the Trump Taj Mahal. Do you know Atlantic City very well?
I know a bit of it, and I remember many, many years ago, I went to a convention at the Trump Taj Mahal, and it was just this massive, huge building. Last time I was in Atlantic City was 2020, and man, there was a lot of old buildings where you can just make out the name that used to be underneath the sign, that the rest was grimy and covered with dirt, just empty buildings. A couple of them were Trump, a couple of them were, God, there was another one. I couldn't tell whether it was falling apart or on the verge of a comeback.
Yeah, so the Hard Rock Casino Hotel it's nice as far as casinos go,
Sure.
But this arena, I don't know if they really upgraded it since it changed hotels. It's really a cavernous convention hall room with high ceilings rather than an acoustics oriented kind of place. So the sound is not great. Attendance was not great. They tarped the 2 side bleachers. They could have put a lot more seats in, and I'm not going to say it was empty, but I'm going to say 3,000 to 4,000 people in a space that they could maximize if they wanted well over 10,000. So they did okay, but the sound wasn't great. And you know how he's been kicking off with Panama?
Yes.
And the first Dave vocals on Panama are the "Oh yeah,"
Yes.
He went into as Dave Cribley from Dave and Dave Unchained calls it, not the Mickey Mouse, that's the Axl Rose thing. What's his Muppet. He went into Muppet Dave mode, and those first 2 notes were off. And when that happened, I looked at my wife horrified and went, "Oh no."
I watched a good portion of that Atlantic City show today. I shouldn't say watched. I watched a bit, but I had it on. I was listening to it. And I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, and please tell me if I'm wrong. I know you will anyway, because it's what you hear. No, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's not a slight or anything, but I've gone back on, with a bunch of videos, and I think some of the shows, at least what I saw last week, was there a show in Tampa, if I recall?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was stronger than what we saw previously, at least the first initial couple dates or two. And I thought going back to Atlantic City, and we'll talk about Long Island as well. I mean, I thought he kind of got better into the set a bit more, and we'll definitely talk about our highlights in the set. But I mean, was I wrong as far as him getting a bit better?
He's
It's almost like he's not warmed up fully.
He's hit and miss. He's absolutely hit and miss. No two shows are going to be the same, even if the set list is the same and the extended versions are the same, because he ADHD style, allegedly, he's doing those high note spots, very unpredictability, with a lot of unpredictability. So it's the kind of thing that there's certain songs like Jamie's Crying where he's totally fine, he's good, and you hear him singing with the classic Dave voice, and then out of nowhere, the vocal gymnastics, the unnecessary vocal gymnastics start happening, and you kind of don't know if it's going to happen the whole song or just one or two lines. But let's say you're one of those people that likes to sing along with songs. You can't sing along. He doesn't do the rhythm. He doesn't do the melody.
You can't sing along with him. I mean, a lot of times I notice the rhythm is there, but the recording, the melody will almost be like a roller coaster, because we know those melodies so well, right? Yes. We've been singing them for decades, for God's sakes. But all of a sudden, he'll drop an octave in a part, and you're sitting there, going, what the? Just feel like you lost the plot completely, and then he's back at it again. And I don't know. Is it a jazz thing? Is it ADHD? I mean, he can't be bored singing this stuff, but I mean, yeah, he can hit the traditional stuff, and then sometimes the harmonies with the backing band and the rest of the guys, and I definitely want to talk about them, and I know we will, are dead on. But then other times, and maybe it's with the sound guy, and I don't know if he was sarcastic in the Atlantic City show, but he gave props to Steve, the sound guy, the other night on stage. So
he did. Now I have a theory which I haven't put out there before. And in talking with some people who are around and know what's going on, one of the backup singers, I don't know if he's a pastor or a reverend. This is not like known information.
Mm-hmm.
And he's flying in and out for the shows, meaning he's an actual religious person who's doing music at a church. And I think that Dave has reinvented himself, because let me back up a second. You know how a lot of these songs have these extra 2 to 5 minute outros?
Yes.
And they're more call and response kinds of, the key might be a little different, but the melody's totally different. And they got these powerful things. I think he's trying to reinvent himself as like a gospel, evil reverend showmaster thing. And in other words, he's taken the cue. He's not trying to be a hard rock god. He's not trying to be Coverdale. He's trying to be James Brown or a soul leader. That's what's going on. But he doesn't bother to give us that context. That's what I think is happening.
I'm wondering. It's kind of like this. All right. Well, let me back up a bit, because overall, some set list quibbles aside, namely it's all Van Halen stuff and no solo Dave, but I love the arrangements and the extended versions they're doing. I love how this band is playing. I mean, as opposed to most of the time when we've seen Dave solo, it's been the closest thing to a Van Halen. No knock on those other guys, but it's the closest thing you get to almost like a Van Halen cover band, right? With Dave, because they stuck to it. Really, most of the arrangements, everything really, really close through the years, whether it was, with Bart or I just spaced on
Brian Young,
right? Yeah. I mean, they stayed pretty close, if not, certainly Eddie's licks, but the arrangements, I mean, in particular, Drop Dead Legs, Dance the Night Away. There's a couple of songs where they really go off. He's working with the backup singers. So I love all that. But overall, I think getting back to your other point there, it's like almost like Dave is like reinventing this, David Lee Roth and the Mambo Slammers talk show host, new zoo review
Yes.
sort of thing or something. I mean, so, and of course mugging it up and grinning and let's also not forget the props, namely the bullhorn with the siren and everything.
Yes. Oh.
And the odd tambourine, which makes some appearances, but not really used that often on some songs. So yeah, we got props, folks.
Yeah, so
not just a scarf and a mic stand.
Mad props. One of the big issues, and I talked about this before, is the majority of, okay, sorry, I need to back up again. Dave obviously is the CEO, calling all the shots. He knows best, etc. But he doesn't know best. He doesn't know who's going to these shows. So I'm talking to people and I'm listening to the conversations that people are having. And the conversations that people are having are not like the ones you and I are having, or the ones of people listening to Dave and Shane. It's more of a populace that's like, I like Jumpin', I like Panama, and I like Hot for Teacher, and I like Van Halen. That's
right. I like the stuff I heard on the radio for decades.
Yeah, that is the audience. Atlantic City, the people who were sitting 2 over from us, it was a wife, presumably a wife, who knew a couple of the songs, and the guy loved Van Halen, but I don't think he'd seen Dave since '91. He didn't know who was in the band. He said something to us along the lines of, my friend asked me who's playing for Dave if Steve Vai was still playing for Dave. Okay. The actual conversation. Other conversations I'm hearing all imply that it's kind of like the people loved him in '85, and then they saw him every now and then in something, and then here they are in 2025, and they didn't keep up. So if you're those kinds of people, do you really want to hear Drop Dead Legs? Do you really want to hear Romeo Delight?
Well, isn't that the tough part with all these heritage acts? Because you have to play the hits. But there's also going to be a percentage of people there that are huge fans, right?
What I'm saying is, by not doing Just a Gigolo, by not doing Just Like Paradise, by not doing, Yankee Rose has it's not for everybody. Right. For the people who loved him in the mid 80s and they love the soul career, they love him. But he's not playing to an audience of Dave diehards. And he's not playing to an audience of Van Halen diehards. He's playing middle of the road. It should have been the hits and 2 or 3 deep cuts. But the way that the set list is going, and it's front loaded with the deep cuts towards the end, it sucks the air out of the room.
Well, the pacing is really weird. The set list is really weird, okay? Because for me, the highlight for this, and I've listened to it so many times for each show and I love it, I think Drop Dead Legs is absolutely incredible. It was a highlight for me when they brought it out in 2015. I've always loved that song. I just love that. It's like a lowrider muscle car, for God's sakes. The way that riff just carries. And this band is killing it. And I think the backup singers are great. And I love seeing the guy from the backup singers come across the stage, fist bump Dave, go to the keyboards, and Al Estrada is just, he's going off wherever he wants to go, and Dave is digging. You can tell he's digging it. They murder that song, man. Nothing but 5 stars.
Good, to clarify, good murdering.
Good murder, yes.
Okay.
5 stars, total props. Get the analogies out there. I'm running out of them. I think it's great. Why the fuck is it song number 2? That's a mid set list where Dave jumps off for a minute, leaves the band out there, catches, has a heater, a shot of Jack, comes back out on stage. It's like 8 minutes, man, which is great, but not for song number 2. It's weird.
No. So at the show last night on Long Island, my cousin, who's a big music fan, you never tell a woman's age, but close in age to me. Close, not 25 years old. She's just peripherally aware of Van Halen. It's just kind of like, oh, that sounds fun. I'd like to see him. And she texted me the 3rd or 4th song of the show, seated in a different section, goes, this man's a walking caricature. So she did not know Drop Dead Legs. She would not know Romeo Delight, and those are towards the beginning of the show. So you're losing the crowd at the beginning. You save the deep cuts for maybe the middle or an acoustic thing or a breakdown or something like that. You front load with hits, you bring the tempo down a little bit, and then you bring the people back up, which in his case is usually the Unchained, Ain't Talking About Love, Hot for Teacher, Jump portion of the show. Yet he front loaded the beginning with deep cuts. I don't know what they were thinking with that.
Yeah. Walking caricature. Oh man. That I don't want to say
Well,
that
she doesn't
sums
have
it up,
context.
right. But she's not wrong.
So I was listening to the people, the lights came up, and I thought that the show last night was great. I was dreading going last night because of how bad Atlantic City was. I was miserable. And I'm like, oh, great. I have to see two more of these pieces of crap. And then the third or fourth song, I leaned into my wife at Long Island and went, I feel better. This is gonna be better. This is gonna be fine. But it's the audience, the lights come up and I hear people come, well, he's 70. What do you expect? That's what you just keep hearing from everybody.
It's the live. It's basically you're hearing live the comments that we're seeing. A lot of the comments we're seeing on YouTube.
Yeah, you're actually hearing those in real life. It's not an audience that's going, yeah, that she and Vi Bissonette trio, man, where are they at? It's not that crowd. So I think that, and they're never going to listen to this, but you should have an A set list and a B set list. And your A set list is the hits with two deep cuts, and then your B set list should be the more diehard fans one. And through market research, you can kind of figure out which crowd is this going to be, and then just shake it up a little bit. But instead, same show every night. So the casino gets the same exact set list as the 2,000 capacity club.
Yeah, I was hoping we'd see a couple curveballs thrown in there just to keep it interesting, and just because that band is so well rehearsed, man. What have you said before that they've rehearsed 40 or 50 or more songs? I mean, and
Yeah,
I'm
30,
sure
40, something like that. And they're only doing, I think, 17.
yeah, at the drop of a hat, they could, without missing a beat, if you say "Feel Your Love Tonight" or something, we're gonna do that tomorrow, they'd be on it. Probably just run through it at sound check without Dave, and they're on it.
Yeah, and with so many of these songs being extended versions, you could cut a couple of the extended bits and add those one or two songs. So Beautiful Girls, which he was doing in 2020, no longer there. And I hate to keep using Romeo Delight as the example. A cool song, it's a Van Halen staple and all that, but it's it's not one of the better things for him to sing. Atomic Punk, he is struggling
Yeah,
with
that
that
one.
one.
Oof.
And what Van Halen fan is going, man, you know what? He should really play Atomic Punk. No one.
You know what else has not sounded good on any show that I saw, which is "You Really Got Me."
Oh, so there's a weird thing in that where the song kicks off with the guitar riff and the drums, and they're kind of opposite rhythms. And the two shows I've watched, they're not immediately in sync. And I think Francis is one of the best drummers out there, and I think Al is one of the best guitarists out there, but it doesn't blend from the prior song.
I'll have to go back and listen to it again because I was listening to the Atlantic City show today, and there was just something like the first minute and a half that sounded off to me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't place it, but now I'm going to go back and listen to it, knowing what you told me, and maybe that I just couldn't. Wasn't paying. I was paying like 80% attention. I'm like trying to do two other things, but it was enough where I went, huh? Like that's different and not in a good way. All of a sudden, just some parts of it, I couldn't figure it out.
This is not a band that easily makes mistakes. Dave is making his fair share of mistakes, and usually they're hard to notice. Dave Criblet was talking about the lyrics that he messed up in the Betty Boop thing in Drop Dead Legs. Is that what's the Betty Boop? Is that the Betty Boop thing? He did that in the
nice
wrong
white
verse.
teeth, Betty Boop.
Yeah. there's not a lot of mess ups. I'm gonna go as far as say this is the best backing band he's had since Vi, Sheehan, Bissonette, in terms of the heavy lifting they have to do and how generally flawless they are and carrying all the weight like that.
I will say it's a stroke of genius to have, maybe not stroke of genius is maybe overkill, but the backup singers, great idea. They're fun to watch. I mean, the fact is, we talked about this after the M3 show, the fact that it's not 4 or 5 scantily clad, but good singing women up there is a
Right.
nice curveball, man. I mean, I'm sure Dave's audience, 99% white, walked in there and went, whoa, you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but just, I'm sure, they sound great. They look great. They're fun. I noticed Dave's interacting with them a bit more than we saw at M3 and at least early in the set, some of the early shows of this tour.
Yeah.
But the band, oh my God, man, they're great. I'm with you right there. I think they kill. They're great.
Good killing again.
Yes,
good
thank you.
murdering.
Yes.
Good killing on all that end. So
And there seems to be a chemistry, right? I mean, considering
Yes.
Dave isn't one sometimes to always even give much more than nibbles of the spotlight, it looks like he's having fun with those guys.
Oh, I'm going to correct you right there and give absolute props to Dave.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, in the past, he hasn't always been.
So
Like
so
I said,
I'm gonna oversell this. I believe it's been 4 shows now that he gave Francis a spot where he pulls him off the riser basically and compliments him and talks about what hard work he's doing and how the drummer has to do more work than the singer. And it's 2 or 3 shows where he stopped it to give Ryan Wheeler his praise. And I mean, not just going, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Wheeler, it's actually talking about
Right.
him specifically. And he said to Ryan at 2 of the shows I saw, and don't you dare play for anybody else. He said something like that. And the Francis part, he basically said that and more, along with a bad Borscht Belt joke, which I could do for you. But he did those. He says Al's name once or twice. He doesn't give him the full-on spotlight. He said Danny's name once or twice. He doesn't say the names of the singers. I could tell you their names because I've looked it up and I've spoken to people. But obviously he loves the singers. And this is more spotlight than he's ever given to a band. Ever. Like, you got to remember, Brett Tuggle was off the stage for the first
Right.
half of the show in '86.
Right.
So absolute props. Behind the scenes, I've heard, and this influences how I think about things. I've heard behind the scenes, Dave could not be more generous, like over the top, helping people, generous, like insane, nice things he's doing for people, and nobody hears about this stuff.
I
And
love to the band and road crew and stuff. And
yeah, bonkers.
he's not doing Diva Dave.
He might be doing Diva Dave a little bit in rehearsals or expecting perfectionism, but I'm hearing about all these amazing things he's doing for people behind the scenes.
That's
And
not
then-
Diva Dave expecting perfection, but Diva Dave is like, not seeing the guy until right before you go out on tour. He's yelling at the sound guy or whoever it is, or, just, I mean, we've all heard a lot of this stuff is anecdotal, but it's enough where it's like Dave can be tough on crew members and band members and not always fairly and paranoid, and the ADD and everything else we've talked about around here can take its toll on those in tow on tour.
Yeah, so I'm hearing the exact opposite. Like, you
Great.
still don't want to mess up around him. But last night, the backing singers messed up a big part of Hot for Teacher. They came in way too early with a refrain. And he didn't melt down for a second. He's like, hold up, fellas. Like, he gave one of those. An older version of Dave might have fired somebody or lashed out the second the curtain went down. But I'm just hearing all these, like, nice smiley stories. And then he said, really, some of his stage raps he repeated from M3 to last night. Some things he repeated in Atlantic City to last night. So some of the things he's doing every night. So it's not like every show is an original work of art. But I'm hearing these nice things, And it has me thinking about what this tour actually is and where it's going and who he is. And I just wish he would give a little context to help confirm whether or not my theories are correct, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, a little cryptic there, my friend. But
Well, okay, I'll say it like this. These, in my opinion, no one has told me this, are not the only tour dates.
right.
I think it's going to keep going. I think it's going to be the usual lengthy thing where he overstays his welcome with a 1 to 2 year run. I think that this is his farewell. I do think that he knows he's towards the end of his life. I can't prove that. I'm not a doctor. I've not violated HIPAA law,
Hey,
but
the when you're 70, you've got less summers in front of you than you have behind you, clearly. I mean, yeah,
the talk of he's looking thin is popping up again,
Hmm.
unfortunately. I think that this is how he would ride it into the ground. And when I hear how generous he is being with everybody, the way that the money is going out, it's that's not a person that's going, well, for my next tour.
Right.
That's unfortunately where my mind is going. If that were the case, I mean, we all choose how to spend our lives and we choose what our path is, but
It's
that's
interesting.
that's
Yeah.
just how I read it.
And so getting back to you mentioning he looks thin, I mean, overall for 70, that's the caveat. I think he looks, I think his look on this tour is pretty cool. All
It's
in
cool.
black.
Yeah.
The band's in black. I'm digging how he's looking. I always love the bolero jackets. That's just me. That we saw in the Van Halen stuff. But at least I I dig the look a lot better than say the last time he was out on the road with Van Halen. I when I mean the bolero jacket, that look that he had going for in the Las Vegas tour posters.
Sure.
But I think he looks really cool. I dig the vest. I dig all that. He's not wearing out the welcome with the crazy scarves. One thing I'm a little curious about is those weird glasses. Those he looks like a cross between, from a certain angle, Don Felder and a veteran old country artist. With, do you know what I'm saying? Is that he looks like a cross between Don Felder and Conway Twitty at times?
That's good. Dave Cribley believed that he looked more like Burt Reynolds in Boogie Nights. That was his assessment. Uh, I don't know. He makes his own fashion choices. He chooses what the band wears. He's involved on this tour down to that level where he's
Wow.
going, this is what you are wearing, and or
Wow.
he may contribute to their fashion pursuits as well, monetarily. He may not. I can't confirm nor deny. But where I'm going with that is he designs this show in every way possible. That drum riser, clearly that came
That
from
came from
his,
Alex's garage, for God's sakes.
I think it came from Dave's garage.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so
But that is the same riser. Make no mistake.
it is. And regardless of where it came from, he went, well, that's what that looks like. And the way that the speakers are kind of laid out is a little thing, but it's kind of like the 1984 tour, the wall of speaker backdrop kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
He's meticulous with what everyone is wearing. If you notice the backup dancers, like they're all wearing black, but they all have different ways, that different kinds of shirts and different kinds of
Yeah.
pants. And then one guy has the wool cap, and one guy has the baseball cap, and one guy has the shaved head, and one guy has the dreads. Everything is super calculated.
I love the attention to detail. Some might call it micromanaging. Hell, most might call it micromanaging. But
Yeah.
there's an attention to detail that's not surprising if you know anything about Dave over the last, well, his whole career, really. I mean, the Brown M&M story is is part of that lore, man. That's where that came from. Is this obsessive, at times, attention to detail, I think. But I think that's good in a way because it just shows you how engaged and how much he wants much he wants to win and wants to make this work.
Except for the vocal melodies.
Right. So
That
getting back,
just that little detail, like singing the songs the way that you grew up with them, or the way that you are familiar with them or
But I
anything
think,
like that.
all right, so yeah, you can. I think he's so insulated to a degree where maybe it is tough to kind of break out of trying to figure out to try to figure out. I don't know if he, like you mentioned before, I don't know if he totally has the pulse on what the audience maybe he thinks the audience should hear, correct?
Zero. Well, when you
But
think about the fact that there's no merchandise,
well,
he really is not thinking about
okay.
what the audience.
That floors me, man. That is leaving money on the table, obviously. And they had plenty of time to get some stuff done. Hell, I mean, with some easy design software and and you could quickly find some t-shirt makers, you could have done this in a week.
Yeah, a quick sidebar story is I went a little earlier to get my tickets for the Atlantic City show, and I see this guy who's wearing a black t-shirt where he pressed the tour poster onto the front of the t-shirt, and he's waiting outside. And I just said, hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm waiting to get inside. I said, oh, great shirt. And he goes, yeah, I'm looking forward to buying the merch tonight. And I said, I don't think there's merch on this tour. He goes, no, there's merch tonight. And I said, I don't think that there's merchandise tonight. There has not been merch at the last four shows. And he's kind of looking at me like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, okay, you know what? Right. You're the man.
Glad you made your own shirt, pal.
Yeah, I heard other people complaining about that whole thing, and I don't know if merchandise was mean to him as a kid, to use the bad Joker expression, but
By the way, that tour poster would have made a great that image of him, right? With that cool yellow bolero jacket and
yeah.
the shirt and the whole and the mic is in the forefront. That would be awesome. You know who else would have been a no that would make for a great merch, but it just hit me now. I'll tell you who would have made some great merch
Who's that?
is
Ramses?
yes, thank you. Exactly. You finished my sentence for me. Are you kidding? He would have had something really cool done up. The Panama,
Totally.
anything. Yeah.
I might be seeing him at the Bethlehem show next weekend. I mean, not a lot of our listeners popped up at either of those shows. Matthew Speddings came all the way out from England. He may or may not have won the win a weekend staying at Darren's apartment contest that we held a month or two ago. He might have won those sweepstakes and all that. But not a lot of, again, going back to the whole thing, I thought that the audience was going to be just diehards. No? Nope.
Well, look, I think a casino show is anyone's guess because one, there's a lot of comps in there, right?
Yeah.
And man, I do not like going to casino shows. If I can help it, I'd rather. I mean, just most of the venues, they're cavernous, they're really wide. The sound is always great. The audience, half of them want you to sit down, half of them are sitting down. It's like, God forbid you rock out a bit too hard to ruin somebody's sensibilities who got free fucking tickets and wants to be out of there by 10 o'clock so they can get back to the blackjack table.
Yeah, hey, I detoured you with all that when I said, "Oh, yeah, he doesn't know what he wants because he doesn't have merch." What were we talking about before that? Before the vocal melodies and
Oh, his what the audience wants. It's
yeah,
interesting because for a guy who's so obsessive to detail and micromanages to the nth degree, on the flip side, as you brought up, there's a bit of a nearsighted, a little bit of myopic thing going on there as far as where the audience is or who the audience is.
yeah, and I think it is a kind of a cool thing. There was no opener. He was on like 8:15, out of there by 9:45 both nights. No intermission, just kind of straight through. I guess he paces it with some of the extended versions and the raps. Like, Dance the Night Away is going to do a talking section. Unchained is going to do a talking section. So that's pretty spread out and well rehearsed. But again, to repeat myself, if you can get rid of a couple of those extended breaks and instead throw in Beautiful Girls or
Are you
Feel
talking
Your
about
Love
the
Tonight
extended
or
versions? The
five or
extended arrangements. I love those. I mean, I think I Dance the Night Away is a highlight for me, even if sometimes the vocals can be a little bit off. I love what the band's doing. I love some of the, I mean,
there's too
it's the
many of
songs where
them.
the band cuts loose, I dig.
There's too many of them. That's what the issue is. And they're sometimes on the songs that the audience is not way too into.
Hmm.
So the really, really long drop head legs is you're glad to hear it, but I don't want a 7 or 8 minute drop dead legs.
Well, it is, I, you know, maybe you cut back 17 songs is not a lot. We talked about this last week. I mean, that's just the bare minimum for a headlining show. No encore, right? In, out there, no solos. It's done. It's fast. So you could, even without cutting those arrangements, you should have about 2 or 3 more songs there for a good 19 or 20 song set. And Lord knows there's plenty to choose from. You know what I was thinking? It would have been cool if the band worked up, and they could have done this in about a day. If the band worked up like kind of a really cool medley, 8 or 9 minutes, which sounds long, but when I tell you this, a cool medley of his solo stuff.
Of course.
That would have been killer. You drop, right? I mean,
a little ain't enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like Paradise, even if you just did those little chunks and leave the people wanting more. There's good medleys and there's bad medleys. One of the best medleys I've ever seen is Weird Al's tour. The middle of the show, the last few times I saw it, was basically a medley. And because you think about it, I don't need to hear the whole Eat It. Like 30 seconds of that is perfect. I don't need to hear the whole Alimony, aka Moni Moni. I'm trying to think of obscure parodies. I don't need to hear the whole I want a new spud. Wait, what's the I want a new drug? No, I want a new duck. You don't need to hear the whole I want a new duck. You don't need to hear Beverly Hillbillies. 30 seconds is perfect.
I would have loved to have heard, and there's in a million years this would never happen, but in addition to different Van Halen songs we would have liked to have heard, and certainly the solo stuff. Can you imagine if somewhere in there he dropped the band just went off and did his version of Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty, which he knows is a great version. Yeah. That would get people talking, man. It's like, I didn't know Dave did that. I mean, it's just some things like that you're hard pressed to find online, and people would know the song, and just shows a little bit other side of Dave, which is he's always been wanting to do anyway, right? Whether it's original Vegas Mambo Slammers thing to the different avenues he took as a solo artist, doing different things so in a weird way, this is almost like a hybrid, pardon the pun, the best of both worlds, the best of all worlds for Dave. Yeah. And it brings back to what I was thinking, what I said before, what I had hoped the canceled Las Vegas residency would have been, where I would have loved to like a show in thirds, right? Classic Van Halen stuff, some Dave solo stuff that's really cool. And then somewhere in the middle there, some really cool bluesy stuff where it's a breakdown with just a couple guitars up there. Like, do you remember when was it in the Skyscraper tour when they were up there with the kettle drums?
Yes.
People were talking about that. So nobody did anything like that before or since. Certainly not a heavy touring rock band.
Yes. So you had that with the part where they did the Beatles cover.
Yes, where they're all with acoustic guitars. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, the Rappelding. Now, I'm not saying he should go into all those production kind of things, but he could figure out to do the song from the second stage that's hidden. He could figure out how to do that kind of thing in some of these halls.
And even if he's not doing that, the fact that, so this is what I'm getting at, is like the backup singers, the different band, one keyboards, two keyboards, one full-time keyboards, the backup singer comes in. I mean, there's definitely some cool things I'm taking away from this that I'm really glad he's doing. And yeah, that is the extended arrangements too, versus just the standard, bam, 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 Van Halen cover set, right? Well, which is what I would have guessed this tour would have been like. So there's some advancements there that I dig.
Right. So if we look at Skyscraper, I recently rewatched a bootleg from that tour, and I thought that all the extended versions were just to kind of camouflage that he was doing a costume change or moving settings.
Right. Or getting to the boxing ring, the surfboard. Yeah.
Exactly. That was the purpose of that whole thing, like to vamp, or we're secretly moving Dave from here to here, or he's going to go to the ceiling to come down during the title track or something like that. And in this case, they're using the extended versions for actual musicality. That's why I'm less into them also, because it comes at the cost of so there's 0 solo songs. And I'm weirdly like a bigger fan of Dave the solo artist than Van Halen. I know that is
Oh, dude, same here.
sacrilegic.
Listen, that was the original premise when you and I were joking about doing a podcast to begin with, because it's, so little attention has been paid to Dave's solo stuff. But
Yeah.
when the solo artist himself pays so little attention to his own work, what are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest head scratchers. And had they set expectations where they went on the ad mat, these days ad mats usually say what you can expect from the tour, where they'll say if it's live, the band live with Ed Kowalczyk, they'll go
Sure.
30 years of Throwing Copper, and that's your hint to go, okay, either they're playing the whole Throwing Copper album, or that this is a throwback set.
Yeah, that's kind of the news peg, right? You know what you're getting. You know what you're getting for the most part.
And in this case, the tour never said plays the classics, plays Van Halen, original lead singer of Van Halen, nothing like that. So we were all led to go, okay, cool, it's Dave, that's great. And we're all go, what do you think he's going to play? This is so exciting. And now that we know it's basically the same set, because this is the M3 set, swapping out and the Cradle Will Rock and then adding in I'll Wait, and I forget which other song offhand. It's basically
you could have added I'll Wait and keep and keep Cradle in there,
Yeah,
easily.
You could have done, let's say they went, well, we don't have all the equipment to do blank. He could do a karaoke solo on stage walking with a mic, just a gigolo.
Right.
The way that Kiss would do Beth, pretending like Peter Criss or Eric Singer's at the piano, but they're really not playing it. He could have done that. That wouldn't have required any special gear at all. Dave walks around. It's fine. The crowd would have been so psyched to hear Just a Gigolo. And that's not for me, but being a casual audience, I'm sure there's a lot of people going, why didn't he play that or California Girls or Just Like Paradise? Weren't those his biggest hits as a solo artist? Weren't those bigger hits than a lot of the songs we heard tonight?
Everybody in that audience would know it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you do that? So that's kind of where he loses me. So when you see that, and then the Atlantic City show was just not good. I was
And here I am
bummed.
thinking he was getting better. It's better.
And then the Paramount, he sounded better. It was a great vibe. He was psyched to be there. He was talking about, said to the band something like, hey guys, all the arena shows, you get to the arena level, all those are exactly the same. This is the stuff you got to remember. And he talked about his history with Long Island and how he loved Billy Joel and you need to see the documentary.
Amazing.
He said that kind of stuff. Clearly he did like Long Island. This is the only venue like that I'm aware of on this tour. He's perfect for a small theater, huge club. But these enormodome things, the California State Fair, oh, that was a doozy.
Yeah.
But going back, again, Francis is getting his accolades. Ryan's getting his accolades. Al's getting his accolades. Who else in the prior years got that? Again,
Nobody.
Was it nobody?
Nobody.
Did he mature?
Nobody.
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 So I just think that that's such great growth. So I guess you can't expect perfection, but I am seeing growth.
Did I hear in the Atlantic City show? I couldn't make it out fully at that moment, but did he name check Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen and a couple others? Right?
Yeah, he did this comedy bit, which he also did in he did on Long. See, I almost confused the name, calling it in Long Island, on Long Island. I almost fell victim to that. But he did this thing where he was talking about how great it was to be in Jersey. And you know what? We've got a Jersey boy in this band. We got Ryan Wheeler. And then he pretended to talk to him with the worst Sopranos ad lib, Uncle Mafia voice ever. And and then he'd lean to the audience and go, what I said to him was blah, 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 blah. And then he'd, hey, Ryan, blah, 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 blah. And then he'd go, and this time I said to him, he was translating that. So he said something
Weird.
like, in this part of the country, Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen, and Snooki. And Snooki shared it on social media.
Oh, nice.
And then here we are 2 nights later on Long Island, and he goes, this East Coast gave the world Bruce Springsteen, Bon Jovi, Billy Joel, and Snooki.
No,
He
no.
did that again, and he did the Uncle Mafioso thing at Ryan again. I don't know. There's certain bits we're going to see every night. The story about who's the African American character on the original Star Trek?
Lieutenant Huru.
Yeah, he did that at M3, and he did that again last night. He's the joke about Francis, like, when I first met him 5 weeks ago, he was 6'3". Now he's travel size. And you go, you met him 5 weeks ago? He's been in your band for 5 years, Dave. That's just, I don't know. That bugs me. I know it's a joke, but
Oh,
yeah.
well,
So I don't know. For me to enjoy the show in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, a lot of it has to do with, is it an arena kind of venue or is it a theater venue? Have you ever heard of this Sands Bethlehem? It's now called Wind Creek.
no.
I'm
No.
afraid to Google it and find out.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of it. But then the way some of these places change names every couple of years because of a sponsorship or whatever, I mean, I it's hard for me to keep up with it.
Yeah, so after that first show in Atlantic City, a lot of people who listen to our show, people like Steve Harold and Danny Young and Mike Schmore, they all start messaging me and going, "So how was it?" And I'm going, "Oh God, I don't want to tell them it sucked." And I was just in a bad mood. And then the Paramount on Long Island happened. Better mood, happy, glad I saw that. I hope I don't have to fake my way through niceness after this third one. If it's good, I might go to more. But I do think it's not the last we're going to see of Dave. I think he invested so heavily into this tour and band that there's no reason it wouldn't go for a year and a half on and off. But I don't see the set list changing more than a song or two over time. What do you think?
Man, that would at the end of this, that would so bum me out, given how great this band is, how well rehearsed they are, how many songs they've done. I mean, I'm sure if you asked each of those guys, all right, name 3 songs you really wish you guys were doing that you're not, and they could bam hit you right away and go, yeah, I wish we were doing this, this, and this.
Maybe I have, and maybe they have. Maybe people do have opinions on that one, and they're just deferring to their overlord. But it's the bright side is we have our Dave. He's out there. He looks great. He's got a spectacular band. I can't promise he's coming to a city near you, but he's coming to a city near a lot of people, just not you, Steve.
No,
Unless more
unfortunately,
dates.
maybe that's the second leg. I mean, there's a lot more of the US he could see, and Canada, of course. We've talked about this before. So we should definitely mention, of course, that our intrepid reporter, our man on the scene, you wrote up have a great review of it all at of the show. The show you saw at the Paltrocast.com. It's fantastic, folks.
Thank
Urge you. We'll have a link there, the show notes. I totally love it. Totally loved your video. Sorry, the photos on Instagram, and your wife took some great video too. So
Thank you.
props to the Paltrowitz party there for getting out there and doing all this and oddly, making the time. It's not easy sometimes to go to a show in your own backyard, let alone out out of state, So
Yeah, I was surprised I got a photo pass for that Long Island show because I was told by somebody who would know, oh no, we're not doing any photo passes on this tour. And all of a sudden on the day before that, or actually when I was in Atlantic City, I got an email going, you were confirmed for a photo pass. I went, what? Oh, cool, great. Okay, fantastic. But it's a weird venue. A lot of these Live Nation venues have policies where they say to the photographers, no video. It's usually the normal 3 songs, photo,
Right.
no
Right.
flash, uh, and you learn to be respectful. But they've started saying no video. So meaning you as the professional person with a media outlet cannot shoot any video on your professional camera or phone, and then the people 2 feet behind you
Or all
and 200 feet behind you can shoot video and post it to social media,
right,
and they
right.
would rather have that out there.
And 70% of the audience has their phone up filming
But
bits and pieces, if not the whole show.
but the people who potentially have an eye for what's good and what's bad, yeah, we just don't want them to do that. So I've noticed now that Live Nation controls more and more venues that I go to or cover at, like Jones Beach and the Paramount and all that, you just get these weird restrictions. And to Dave's credit, no restrictions otherwise. I saw some of the most invasive photo releases this summer from Creed and Live, who have the same publicist, where it says something like, you can't use more than 5 photos of the artist on your social media. Steve, how many people are clamoring for photos of Ed Kowalczyk of Live?
How many people would recognize Ed Kowalczyk from Live?
Well, I think everyone would recognize him, but I was rather standing in the photo pass area, the photo pit rather, 2 weeks ago, and I'm looking at Live, and I go, cool, okay, there's Ed Kowalczyk. Wow, that guitarist had a lot of work done. Wow, he looks different. And I looked at the bass player and went, he looks different. He had a lot of work done. I'm looking at the drummer going, he replaced the whole band.
Oh, yes, he did. Yeah, oh, I can tell. Oh, absolutely. In fact, you just reminded me. I had a great time with them working and doing things for the Dolphins Cry record, which was the follow and the one after that, the MCA releases back in the day. Super nice guys. In fact, Ed Kowalczyk was about 2 minutes away from going on a radio morning show here on September 11th, 2001, and was immediately out the door in a rental car and drove straight back to LA. I mean, literally within a couple of minutes. Nicest guys in the world. But yeah, there was a Rolling Stone article about 3 or 4 years ago that went into the deep drama and the turmoil in that band, with Ed getting the right and the other guys and the Amaju ripped them off. I mean, it was at parts, you just sat there with your mouth agog over some of the things that happened with that band. It was like, whoa. And yeah, it's basically Ed now, correct? I mean, I think most part, the other guys have been estranged from him for a while. And yeah.
So I wasn't doing that to like directly make fun of him. I was saying, they have this restricted photo release that I don't know they even know that they have, because it's the same publicist as Creed. And I saw these 2 publicist emails with the photo release and went, these are identical. Oh, it's the same guy. Dave's team, no restrictive photo release. Cheap Trick has a really, really restrictive one.
Yeah.
Styx and REO Speedwagon had these really restrictive ones a summer or 2 ago, where you had to email all of your photos after you took them, and then somebody on the team has to approve it and say they're good enough, or you can't use these.
I think you would expect Dave to have those restrictions.
Yes.
I think with all these veteran acts that do this stuff, it's all vanity, right? That's what it comes down to. They don't want to be seen looking, in a weird shot, really old, with Rick Nielsen having, 4 chins or whatever. And I mean, because you know what? From 5 feet away, you can see it. These guys are old, man. I mean, it's nothing new. It's not a slight. It's not a rip. These fuckers are old. I mean,
So none of that for Dave. So this has been one of my, vocals aside, and Setlist aside, let's be honest, one of my more complimentary episodes of Dave, because of stuff I've heard about how generous he's been to people, how nice he's been about his bandmates and praising them, which he's never been before. And then the photography, like no restrictions at all, came from his team. And they were granting them, even though somebody else thought, oh yeah, there's no photo passes. So nice Dave is user-friendly. Dave.
Yeah, you know what? There. I think, and again, it's anecdotal because I've seen just video, online, and we talked about this earlier. It seems to me, an increasingly more show with, I think, with each show, and who knows what it'll be like by the end of this, but it just seems like Dave is just looser, more engaged. Just like you said, he knows this is the last shot.
Yeah.
Let's go out and have fun, guys. You know what I mean? But under the guise of let's go out and have fun. And I've got everything buttoned up and tightened up as best as I know how, because that's what I do. So
Yeah. So I see this as the end, and he's going out with a bang. And I'd, in a way, love to be wrong, but he's never really told you what he's going to do. You could tell me I'm wrong, because when he was promoting A Little Ain't Enough, he said the next album was going to be a blues album in some interviews, and arguably Your Filthy Little Mouth was bluesish at points, but he's never been an artist that told you what's going to happen.
No, because it changes so damn often.
Sure. So I'm of the mindset of, even if you don't think that it's the greatest show, you should see him while you still can, and maybe you have a year-ish left of that. And if you don't go,
come on, Dave,
right,
come to Chicago at least.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to see him. I mean, I saw him once at the Minnesota State Fair here, 2001. Doing I think we talked about this on an episode. He was vamping with the sign language interpreter, which was hilarious. Which was fantastic. So, all right. So out of the shows you saw, Long Island, much better than Atlantic City.
Yeah. M3 may have been the best of the three, because it had the element of surprise.
Sure.
And I think he tried the hardest and did the most prep for that. But that was really great. The cell phone videos don't do it justice. And I think the Paramount on Long Island was great. Cell phone cameras don't do justice. And if you tell me that the Atlantic City show was great, you were high. Really, really high. So, some of these fans, Steve, I don't think that I'm just this great fan. I'm a really hard to please person comparatively.
Yeah, I think we're objective.
But some of these people, when they find out like what I've done or something like that, they'll go, let me tell you my Dave story. I've got the best Dave story. And you go, oh, cool. Let me hear it. And they go, so like I was outside the amphitheater in 95, and I'm like, hey, Dave, can I get a photo? And he's like, sure, man. And he took a photo. He was so cool, man. And he goes, oh, great story. I'm glad.
Awesome.
Or it'll be somebody going, yeah, I partied with him and he talked at me all night. And you go, oh, you poor soul. The Dave stories aren't great the way that other artists' stories are. It's not like Bill Murray stories where he comes to your frat house and plays ping pong.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? What was the movie Dave Chappelle did? It was like his first movie, I think it was, and Jim Brew was in it. It was all about Half Baked.
Yeah.
I just remember because there's been those stories about Dave where it's like, yeah, man, he was doing blow all night and he wouldn't shut up, whatever it was. It reminds me of like, do you remember that scene in Half Baked where Chappelle is just completely bogarting the joint? Do you know what I'm talking about? Just constantly and I think was it Brew was like, yo, hey, what? Come. That just reminded me of, I was partying with Dave and all he did was bogart the joint, man. I couldn't even,
Yeah, people were saying like, what happens if Dave finds out that you're the guy who wrote the book and he wants to say hi? I think I said to the person, well, that's not going to happen. If it did, I'm bringing a witness. I'm not going backstage alone to... I'm going to need somebody who can read social cues, because I'm not very good at that. I need somebody who can read social cues to get that conversation, like to interrupt him or stop him or pepper it with something so that he actually asks a question and it isn't just like, the thing about Mark Twain is, I don't want that. I did not want that. But the people I spoke with from his band in Atlantic City couldn't be lovelier. I think I freaked out Alistrada a little bit. I've
Why?
never spoken with Alistrada before. And I went up to him point blank, and I was sober. I haven't been drinking for a while, but I went up to him and I said, I would love to interview you in the near future. And don't worry about NDAs and that kind of stuff. I won't ask anything inappropriate. And he said something like, oh, those people will have to be long dead before that happened. He said something along those lines because I mentioned the NDAs.
Right, right. He's not talking.
Yeah, he is not talking. But all the band came out to say hey to everybody.
And this was after the show or pre-show?
After the show in Atlantic City, I saw some of the band walking around the.
So was there a backstage pass, or they came out to the? Did you have, or did they come out to the audience afterwards?
It wasn't that they came out to the audience. It's just some of them were hanging out because with some of the band being from Jersey.
Oh, of course. Okay.
The Dave organization has never been much about handing out backstage passes to non-female
right
people of a certain persuasion. It's kind of like, well, we want to say hi to family and friends and whoever else, and we're all going to be there. And
I just had what would be a great skit for Bill Hader.
What's that?
Right? Like, or just some sort of anecdote where it's like, man, I paid $250 for the VIP package. I couldn't even get a picture with Dave. He kept talking. I couldn't get an autograph. Things you'll never see. What will never happen. A VIP Dave tour package.
Believe it or not,
meet the artist.
Most of the people that I encounter want Dave to talk at them for 3 hours, and I just don't want that.
Frankly, if I had that opportunity once, I would dig it. If nothing, could I get, just for the challenge of within 3 hours, could I get a word in that we share the same last name? And I had like 9 Roths in New York City, and one of them may be related to his Uncle Manny. I got a ton of paperwork out of my now deceased dad's, not my biological dad, it's a whole other story. My deceased dad's just took 3 years to get all this stuff taken care of, but got a package 2 weeks ago from a safety deposit box we didn't even know he had. And I'm just like, I did not know that my grandfather had, I thought he had 7 brothers and sisters. There's 9 people listed here that my dad wrote out, So,
wow.
Hungarian and Polish Jews coming over in the early 1900s, the families were pretty big. I mean, they weren't Catholic size big, but it's
well,
so,
I
that would be my
that,
challenge talking with Dave. Hey, man.
The verbal jujitsu element of the whole thing.
That's what it is.
It would be like you would start to show him that document, and then he would start commenting on the paper stock and then tell you the origins of ink and how Marco Polo brought over ink, and when he learned in Japan that the ink is wabi-sabi and the ink that goes into your skin.
Hey, man.
So, I mean, one person I've never asked, I know that Ramses met Dave. I think he got backstage time with him because they specifically said, yeah, come back. But I don't know if it was just let me sign this for you, here's a photo, or if Ramses learned about paper stock and lettuce and origin of the microphone. And
we could be going overboard a little bit because I'm trying to think back at some of those fan interactions where, as limited as they have been that we've seen, reading about bumping into Dave at a cigar store or at LAX or whatever, these different things where it's like, with no spotlight on, seemed relatively self-effacing, right?
Yeah, the record store, cool. The dog show in Pasadena.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been that good ones, but once he gets Daved up into Dave mode, I just don't know if he, with all that stage adrenaline, like what happens if he get karate chopped.
I think I'd rather hang with Dave for about 25 minutes while he's tucking into a salad at the food court. If you know, you know. And versus some something to be the equivalent of a podcast interview. Although we would love to have him here. Dave, the mic is all yours, man. We would just do an intro and then have at it.
You never, stranger things have happened,
Yes.
but that would be very, very strange. So, yeah, Pennsylvania, if anybody is going to the Bethlehem show, happy to meet up, happy to say hi, etc. If I do really well unexpectedly with any kind of a money thing, I'll fly out to Gary, Indiana, or whatever. I don't know.
No, what was the one in Oklahoma or someplace or St. Louis was like, what the hell is this? Joe's Pit Stop or whatever. I don't have the dates in front of me right now, but when we first went over, we were like, what?
Yeah, part of me just wants to see as many of these as I can. The way that Fish fans go, oh, I'm going to see the Baker's Dozen. I'm going to see all 13 Fish shows.
Right.
And then, but at least Fish changes the show every night.
It's kind of the way I was for a number of years seeing Cheap Trick because,
yeah,
the set list still changes when they're doing a headlining set. I mean, there's the hits, but I mean, when they did 4 nights I think I talked about this before. They did 4 nights in Vegas a couple years ago where they did one night 70s, 80s, 90s, and then the 2000s. And there was like 108, it was some crazy number out of 108. There was 170 some odd total songs played. And like only 4 of them were across all the set lists. You know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, it was just I can't remember what the number was, but it was something where I just was like, holy shit. And when I saw the set list, it was like, man, did they pull out some stuff? So.
Well, speaking of 80s, though, on the Van Halen end, those Diver Down bootlegs have been fantastic.
Yeah, one from St. Paul, Minnesota, you sent me today in 1982. So
Rockford, speaking of Cheap Trick, that's one that came out. I think Louisville, maybe Kansas City, I think. I don't know if there's more coming. Somebody tipped me off a long time ago that there was more coming. I don't know if this is what that is, but generally excellent audio quality, and it makes you wonder, why didn't Van Halen ever put these out, clean them up and put them out as a, all around the world 1982 kind of thing where you take 1 or 2 songs from each show and you have like that Guns N' Roses one that came out in the late 90s. You remember that one?
Yeah, no, refresh my memory.
They basically were different eras, taking 1 song per show.
Oh, right. Yes.
I think it was called maybe Live 87 to 93.
Yes.
People love those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And it shows how great the band was on that tour. And so even if you buffed up this song, there was still 1 or 2 great ones that night. You can get the Jamie's Crying from this show, and the since it's before Jump and all that, you can get the, I don't know, Pretty Woman from that show, etc. It's a big loss that Van Halen never had the foresight to make a proper Dave live album when he was still at his peak.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man, we always say it. They left a lot of money on the table.
So my question is, because I never asked the people, will we start to see a 1984 dump of these where they start unloading all the bootlegs? Because why would people have only been closely recording 1982 shows?
Yeah. Yeah, were these all coming from, because there's been so many of them. All of them have been coming they all been coming from this one, and I'm looking at the link you sent me.
It's like
Music Media Archives. Yeah. Where is this stuff coming from and why now? Damn.
Some of them are coming from there, and then some of the other stuff, the more Dave-centric stuff, I think has been coming from one that's just called like My Concerts.
Okay.
And I think that My Concerts one maybe went away and then came back. It doesn't have a tremendous amount of followers, or at least it didn't originally. But wherever it's coming from, thank you.
The Music Media Archives one is interesting because they have 18 videos. It's all Van Halen, and they've got like 1,500 subscribers. I mean, this clearly just started like two weeks ago, maybe, right?
Read between the lines. They're posting them so people get them,
right?
And then it's going to be shut down really quickly,
right? Exactly. We've seen versions of this movie before, right? So
yeah, this is like the 4th time we've seen this. That The first time I think we really saw this was the Castle Donington 84 second camera shoot, which Matthew Speddings, who listens to the show, gave me his theory on who that was. I think he thinks that it was the cameraman from Old Gray Whistle Test or something like that. I don't mean to get anyone in trouble, but it was either a rogue cameraman or a second cameraman, and that's what that was.
Yeah, we should make mention too that our friend Ramsey's at the Mojo Dojo about a week ago put out a cool little concert tribute, barely a minute long, called Forgiveness,
Yeah.
which is just, I thought was super cool. Just a little tribute he did. And he's just always making cool stuff. I just wish he did more of it.
I I second that notion rather. And I heard, Steve, I heard you have a good Dave story.
I have a good Dave story.
I was making you work your improv chops. You go.
Oh,
Yeah, I
are we yes-anding? It's getting late here, man. Actually, I do have one question for you. And
yeah.
Who's the show?
Oh, We the Show.
And there's our episode title. Come on now.
You hit the nail on the head. I don't know if the We the Show thing is going to have legs. He didn't do Look at All the People Here Tonight in Atlantic City.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't know if I've seen a show where he didn't do that. Maybe he didn't want to look at all the people there tonight, but
sorry, go ahead.
He is doing the like, how's it sounded so far? He's doing that one, and like, you're all still with me?
I noticed some video was at Tampa. It was like barely 30 seconds in Panama. I was like, how he sounded so far? It's like, dude, you just started, man.
Yeah. I think two of the shows I've seen, he did the having a good time so far, and it didn't start yet.
I'd love to know what his warm-up routine is pre-show, because like we were saying at the jump here at the top, I mean, sometimes it just sounds like he's not fully warmed up.
Yes. So
It's
that
weird.
Atlantic
I
City
can't
show
figure
that
it out.
started with those bum notes. I'm sorry to talk over you. The Atlantic City that started with those bum notes, it was like, I think he's putting all the care into the physical, the fashion, how he looks, the hair and makeup, the fitness, the diet, and then not enough time with the vocals, which I think is a very common thing. There's some artists, my wife and I see them on tour, and you go, I think they spend all the time in the gym. And then you see them on the next tour, and they're wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and you're like, okay, they've been warming up the vocals, less time at the gym. There's not a lot of people who look good and sound good these days.
I wanted to ask you something, and if you saw this compared to earlier, he seems like he's moving a bit different, certainly differently, but a bit more than I saw than at M3, as far as just like kind of, he's not doing the big kicks and stuff, but and he's certainly not, there's no wooden dance floor and Capizio's action going on like on one of the Van Halen tours. But for a guy who's had a lot of injuries, it just looks better. It looks like he's moving better than he was on the last Van Halen tour. And certainly from what I saw on M3, I think.
I'm not the person that picks up on limps or struggling motions. I'm also not the person. My wife can sometimes look at an artist and go like, "Oh, they've got the old person skinny legs." She can, and that's not to be a mean thing. That's like somebody gets older and then the legs get skinny first, and that's when you start to realize like, oh, there's mobility issues or a change in health status. Not trying to dox or HIPAA or violate HIPAA laws right there, but I've heard some rumblings of skinny legs going on, and I don't know what that's connected to. For all I know, he switched to a vegan diet and he changed trainers. I mean, he did ride all that mileage in Thailand.
Yeah, and we know he's been a big biker for a good number of years now. Well, I think always into biking, but really is, low impact, right? Been doing a lot more.
Hopefully, better than the roller skating that he claims he used to do.
Yeah, I was just thinking of a couple things. I keep going back to a couple things here, and I'm sorry, but the merch thing is a freaking mystery. No merch. It's just that makes no sense to me. But and same with, and you mentioned this in your review as well. We talked about it a bit. Same as that. I mean, he's done virtually no promotion for this. You know, it'd be great
None.
just to throw a bunch of clips together, have his assistant do it, and post a YouTube video once a week to this channel. You know, when he was posting up wackadoodle, cover versions and dance shit for 90 seconds here, whatever. I mean, earlier in the year and last year, it's been dry, man. There's been nothing going on there. At the one time where he actually has physical, visible, out there on the road doing shows, presence and visibility makes no sense to me.
Without saying too much, I've heard that there's certain people along for the tour who don't actually do anything.
Are they dwarfs?
Maybe, maybe not. It cannot confirm nor deny.
And that's not a shot on dwarfs. If you know, from back in the Van Halen days. I mean,
I'm just saying there's enough people on the road that it's not a little tour. There are people who could do things if they were asked to do things. Yeah,
they have the expertise. They just haven't been asked.
Question if they do, but
is Tom on the road with him?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, okay.
I thought I picked Tom out in Atlantic City. I thought I saw him. And I went up to this guy because the guy looked exactly like Tom. And I said, "Hey, are you Tom?" And the guy goes, "No." And I'm like, oh. Wait, is that Tom claiming he's not Tom? Or or did I just peg him wrong with all that? Because if it was Tom, I was going to ask for a photo because no one asked Tom for a photo.
Right.
And he is running the show.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know if he's tour manager, but he's delegating and telling people what to do and what time things are, it looks like.
Oh, so he's kind of tour managing.
I don't know if he's tour managing.
Production director or something. Call it like.
Yeah, he's definitely calling shots. He's not just holding a boom mic. He's not just riding a bike. He's running the organization along with Jerry, the comical Tom and Jerry, like the cat and mouse cartoon thing. Yeah. They're keeping the show going. So props to them for keeping everybody happy. Because from what I'm hearing, it's a happy band, a happy crew that hangs out with each other. It's not one of these tours that's divided, that goes on our off days. Let's not see each other and be on different buses. None of that.
Wow, man, that's a good thing to close on. That makes me feel good, man. I'm glad because Lord knows, I think most of us would have expected it to be the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Rocket Rashot going back a bunch of episodes, they were hiding from Dave.
Right. Don't want to incur the wrath, man.
The David Lee Roth, I think we used to call back then. Yeah, so I'm being positive here. I'm just hearing nice things. He's taken a few photos of people in hotel lobbies, which Scott Yeager and the WDFA Facebook group had posted.
Oh yeah, I haven't looked at there in a few days. There was a cool photo of them kayaking around Manhattan a couple of days ago, which I thought was a lot of fun.
They're not making Axl Rose style the people wait to come on stage. They're just going, we're on at this time, we're off at this time. Have a good night. Here's your Van Halen. So in that sense, it's maybe the most straightforward, what you see is what you get tour he's ever done, and good vibes, and see him while you still can. That's my positive spiel, Steve.
I like it.
So, So who's the show?
We the show.